Pike's pushed more and forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's just like trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's allowed to have fun. Yeah.
It's all about the entertainment, so I hope everybody
is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is enjoying himself watching. And the Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
Coming down to the side. Does he have it? He's going to get it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's just like trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your Sunday evening Tanso Racing Group event. We are back for Season 4 now in the Tanso Racing Group. We've just had a fantastic season with this club, and well, what a fantastic season we have lined up ahead. Some many good tracks coming up in the season. And, well, it all starts with the promo event today here at Summit Point Raceway in Australia. The commentary today is brought to you by me and me alone. So please bear with me a couple of moments if I'm a bit delayed here and there. But we will try and keep you up to date as best as possible and as quick as possible as well. So today brings Media Day, no points on the line, purely for fun and enjoyment and display of what's to come in the season. So a lot to look forward to tonight. We have some good racers out there and a lot of familiar names and some new names as well. Now we do have... Sorry, hay fever is getting the best of me today, just as we start the broadcast, typically. But we do have some last season winners. So last season, Daniel Wareham, John Sylvester and Harry Fox all won the Pro category, and Shane Cotton, Joe Glass and Mark Proctor finished top 3 in the AM category. We have 40 drivers signed up for this season in the Tanso Racing Group series. There are still 10 more spaces, I believe, yet for drivers to sign up. So if you wish to sign up, make sure to get yourself involved. We have some great racing coming up this season, so looking forward to it all, really. We do have 2 drivers that have been promoted to Pro from the AM category. Those 2 drivers are Shane Cotton and Mark Proctor, so those 2 will be 2 to look out for. See what they could do this season after being pushed up to Pro following their fantastic season in Season 3. So well done to those 2 for being promoted to Pro. Joe Glass, one of the winners in the AM category, one of the top 3, remains AM for this moment in time. So we'll see what happens between all those guys as we just jump into the session here. Waiting for things to probably get underway, and we are just touching into qualifying now. So like I said, there's no points tonight, but same setup as always in terms of the sessions. Not much else has changed. It's a new season, a new day, and a new sense of heavy hay fever for me. So looking forward to what we see tonight. You can see the names coming across your screen on the bottom there, scrolling from right to left as they all exit the pits and start their laps. And the person we are watching at the minute is Mr. Mark Brown. Now, even though there's no points on the board, Mr. Mark Brown and I'm sure many others out there will be looking to get a nice, strong finish tonight to really assert as much dominance as they can early doors, and sort of maybe turn a few heads as well, make a few other drivers worry in terms of how strong they are in their pace. Summit Point's always a nice track as well. It's a good one to get eased into. Not many drastic turns. It's quite a nice, smooth track, and especially if you get your laps very consistent as well, it is a enjoyment to race on. So looking forward to seeing what we have tonight. We do have quite a few cars out there tonight as well. I will see if I can grab a number of how many cars we have there for you shortly. But Summit Point Raceway, that is one of the free tracks, I believe. I think they've kept it free still, of iRacing, so a lot of you can get on it and get involved. Now, obviously, if you aren't involved in tonight, not to worry. You are never too late to sign up for this league, so you can always get involved and join the Tanso Racing Group in the hope to get a trophy at the end of the season and get your name out there a bit more. So, if you wish to get involved, you know how to do it. Join their Discord and see what we can do in terms of getting you in. I think there's 10 positions remaining as it stands. But just wait for some times to come up on the board, and we'll bring you the standings, or as they come in, we'll bring you the qualifying positions. There's going to be a lot of chop and change to start with. I mean, you've got Mark Proctor already going purple on the first sector, so he's having a good lap. Aaron Hobson went all greens, but didn't post the time, and Mark Brown seems to have the same little bit of off-track going on there every lap so far. It'll be interesting to see how many off-tracks these guys get, and in terms of slowdowns as well, how much that actually affects these races. Now, we do have 10 turns, I believe, on this setup tonight. Now, looking at the track map, we have first 3 turns. Turn 3 seems to be where Mark Brown keeps getting a little wheel off into the sand on the edge of the track there on the runoff. But apart from that, yeah, it looks fairly smooth. You know, things do slow down quite a bit between turn 5, 6, then pushing out 7, 8 and 9, you know, it gets a lot quicker again. So it's only really turns 5 and 6, which I like to, well, I used to call Devil's Corners, but I've been told they have multiple different names for multiple drivers. So we'll just call it whatever comes to my mind first, I think, when it comes around. But we'll watch Matt Brown as he goes around turn 1, long right-hander, through a slight curve, which is turn 2, which is just there. You saw him sort of ping and keep close to the line as he goes around left-hander. This is where he kept getting a few little off tracks here, I think. Wheels going wide. He's just kept it on that time, so hopefully all good there for Mark Brown this time round. Coming around turn 4 now, leading into turn 5 or 6. So this is the part where I mentioned where things are going to be a little bit slower. And as they come around now through 7 and 8, this is where you can start to get your foot down on the accelerator and really get some power out of that car and get some juice out of it as you push round into turn 9, second to last corner, the penultimate corner of the Summit Point Raceway track tonight. And we'll just wait for Mark Brown to get around and we'll see what kind of time he's just done, because you know we've just watched him for the whole lap and it felt about 30 seconds ago I was just telling you how the lap is, well, when it starts really. So there's not much time between the start and the finish of this lap, and you can tell that from the quickest time being a 1 minute 20 at the moment, and Mark Brown's just on 1 minute 20.6, so the top 4 already very close, and John Sylvester reigning supreme at the minute in P1 with 1 minute 20.199. Now I think these guys only have 1 or 2 laps to actually get a time in before the qualifying session then ends. It's a bit like your normal iRacing sessions. You could do X amount of laps, or you've got a timer. So if you decide to go really slow for whatever reason on your warm-up lap, you've then got to try and get those last couple of laps in before the timer, or if you don't want to qualify at all and start from the back, like I sometimes do, you can always do that. But one name I will like to point out, he was mentioned quite a lot last season, towards the end of last season when he joined Tanso Racing Group, Darryl Morrison. Darryl Morrison, you know, he's well amongst it at the minute in P10, but he did have quite good pace, especially in the last round. We saw him clawing his way back up through the field after an early incident and didn't seem to ever stop. So that is certainly a car to look out for and see what kind of damage Morrison can do in the media day race. So obviously there is no points on the board. There are no championship standings to bring to you tonight, but there will be going into sort of round 2 as we get the results from the initial round. But tonight is purely for fun, enjoyment, and well, a bit of testing really for these drivers. You know, yeah, they've had a little break. Granted, it's only been sort of a week or 2, but still, they've had a little break from the car. So now it's time to get back in the mode and get back in the zone and really try and get this car spitting away. And you can see the flames pouring out the back of Mark Brown's car there as he's having a couple of backfires coming around the corner. So that was almost like it was on cue. So you do want to try and get as much out of this car as you possibly can and get to grips with it as early as you can in the season, because the main thing is to sort of hit the ground running in this league. And Scott Kostrick seems to have a very slow lap there, but I imagine that is probably his first one out of 2 or 3. So I think it is possibly 3 laps that these guys get to run in. So Scott Kostrick will hopefully, I reckon he'll be in the top 10. Scott Kostrick does have pace, and we've seen that as well. So you can see there's a lot of familiar faces, but also quite a few new faces. The black boxes, I believe, are all the new faces or changed classes. And then obviously you've got your reds and blues like normal. We're approaching the 7.5 minute mark now. Just see if anyone is still out on track at the moment. Yeah, we've got 3 people still out on track. So let's see. Let's have a little look at Scott Kostrick, who's want to try and close up that time as much as he can, because at the minute he's 10 seconds behind the field. So he wants to try and close that down as quick as possible. And I believe we do have 21 cars in the session for tonight. Connor McKendrick is the only car that hasn't currently posted a time, so hopefully Connor can get out in time for this and we'll have 21 cars on track. But at the minute we've got a top 20, so that's not too bad whatsoever in terms of the reverse grid as well. That'll work out quite nicely. Scott Kostrick, oh, just outside of my prediction. I predicted top 10. I think that's what I said anyway, but top 10 prediction is what I'm going to go with. And yeah, he finished, well, he done that lap on P11, so not too bad, just behind Ryan Dudley there, who holds the P10 position, and there's not much time between the two either. Aaron Hobson, Eric Ronenberg, those two are very close there in P2 and 3. There's not much between those two at all. Almost identical laps. And the same for Mark Proctor and Dan Wareham. Dan Wareham, obviously, we know the can of beans that he has in his car. And they certainly do make him go fast. As we saw immense pace from Dan Wareham last season. Adrian Hadfield, it looks like he is the only Hadfield we have in tonight. So there'll be no, you know, smiles or cheers as a family reunion happens on track. Or possibly a family rivalry, who knows? This season could be the season these guys really go at it. We've got quite a few different families in this league, actually. We've got a couple of Sylvesters. We've got a couple of Hadfields. Trying to think of a few other names. I know there was a couple more, but I'm not too sure. I don't think they're with us tonight, so they're not springing to mind instantly. We do have some family rivalry, should we say, out there, and Scott Kostrick has put at P10, so where I kind of predicted him to be is where he's now sitting. And, well, Daniel Wareham is taking flying lessons. What a spectacular crash that was. Hopefully everything's all good for Dan Wareham, though, and I have to say, that wheel's not having a very fun time there, but Dan, I'm sorry, as much as you spin them wheels, that's not going to help you. We're approaching the 10-minute mark now, so we will get you the lineup for race 1 in just a moment. Across the pond, how's it going? Welcome, buddy. So, your grid for race 1: John Sylvester P1, Eric Ronenberg P2, Aaron Hobson P3, Dan Wareham P4, Mark Proctor P5, Mark Brown P6, Richard Flutie P7, Jamie Allen P8, Adrian Hadfield P9, Scott Kostrick P10, Ryan Dudley P11, Darryl Morrison P12. So look out for Morrison there. So we scroll through the grid for the rest of them. Martin Lee, P13. Lee Rylands, P14. David Clark, P15. Kevin Randall, 16th. Stuart Bradley, 17th. Jamie Dangle, 18th. John Johnston, 19th. Michael Elms, 20th. And rounding off your grid, P21. Conor McKendrick. Not too sure if Conor McKendrick's going to make it out on time or not, but he didn't set a time in qualifying. So we just wait for the 5 red lights, and out they go. We're underway already. Great start there from Mark Proctor. Instantly gained a position there on Dan Wareham, and he's gained another one. They're going side by side. What a camera we have here. Look at all these cars coming down. The 3 pinks on the right hand side. I can see the bonnet of the Hadfield in amongst it there. Kostrick, sorry, zipping left to right. These guys are going 3 wide into turn 1. And are they going to hold it around the entire bend? Looks like they are. Mark Brown's going to come up the inside monster livery. He's getting a bit of dirt there on the tyres as he gets his inside tyres on the dirt. But John Sylvester trying to hold the line on the outside line of this next turn. There's a bit of contact there. Mark Proctor's gone round. Mark Proctor has gone round from one of the pink cars out in front at the moment. Not too sure who that was, because I'm seeing a lot of pink. I think that was Eric Ronenberg. That was the full pink car of Eric Ronenberg. So I believe that is the person that got caught up a bit on the inside of Mark Proctor's car there. So a bit of an unfortunate situation there for Mark. Hopefully he can regain or possibly get in a good position for the reverse grid for race 2. So Eric Ronenberg currently sits P3, Mark Brown P2. What a push he's had, chasing down the leader now, John Sylvester. Well, we've seen this before. What can these guys do and bring us a hopefully good battle like they did last season? All throughout the season these two are battling it out, and hopefully we're going to see more here today. There's battles going on all over the grid, and you can see there's a car off track there. John Johnston now trying to fight his way up as well on the plain white livery in the minute. I have to let him know about that because he's probably not aware that his livery isn't on, but he's got off as well. 2 cars gone off there. Oh, that's not good for Johnston whatsoever. I think that was... Who was that went with him? Was it Kevin Randall? Yes, it was Kevin Randall in the Castrol livery. I think damage is turned off in this race, so they should be able to crack on. Yeah, there you go. Johnston's just jumped in like the Transformers in the background, and he's going to jump back on track. Let's try and jump on board with Adrian Hadfield. See what's going on here. They're going 3 wide into turn 4, and Scott Kostrick's going to hold the inside line. Mark Proctor, he's been here before. He had contact before. There's a bit of door-to-door bashing there. Mark Proctor back on track. Oh, nearly loses it again. That's not what you want to see. He's lost it in completely there and ended up in the wall. So it's proven that these cars are actually struggling tonight, it seems. There's a lot of carnage going on everywhere you look. There's people going into the walls, people flipping up off the verges on the outside, away from the action just for 2 moments. Phil across the pond, how's it going? Welcome in. Evening all. I am the only one in the booth, so evening to me and evening to you, sir. How's it going? Thank you very much for joining us. Mark Brown now trying to have a clean race, unlike some of the others in the rest of the pack, having unfortunate incidents going off here, there and everywhere, and doing some spectacular gymnastics. So this is a great gymnastics show for the rest of the season. But Mark Brown looking to put the pressure on. Sylvester goes up the inside line, set purple time for his last lap. He gets the move done. He's got the inside line, he's got the corner, it is all his. The inside wheel comes up as he carries all that momentum and speed through there, putting the car right on its limit. But John Sylvester is going to try and put Mark Brown on his limit and try and regain that position back. He's not going to have the momentum, or he's not going to be close enough really to do that in that corner. But it looks like he's gaining a bit on the exit there. Got a better exit than Mark Brown. Holds a slightly wider line through that turn, and well, he's backed off a little bit now. I think he's trying to just be careful and biding his time, because remember, we're only coming up to 4 minutes into this race. It's a 20-minute race. Aaron Hobson looks like he's been lapped, but he's going to carry on. Michael Elms is the only car that's out at the moment. So wherever you look, there's battles going on everywhere. I mean, at the minute we did have Mark Proctor just form an overtake, so we just missed that, unfortunately. Scott Kostrick putting the chase down as well. There's a lot going on everywhere we look at the moment, and sorry if my voice sounds a bit off. I've had an extreme hay fever attack, shall we say, just before the stream, sneezing every 2 seconds, so that was always delightful, but hopefully it'll clear up as the race goes on. Talking of things clearing up, the gap between these two is not getting any clearer. It's getting smaller and smaller as we go around, leading into the first 5 minutes now. And just as we jump away from Scott Kostrick, he's just performed an overtake, so we just jumped on board with the leaders because they were getting close down the back, down the home straight, sorry, and jumped away from Scott Kostrick, and he's just pulled off a move. We'll see if we can jump on with Adrian Hadfield, who's going side by side with Scott Kostrick at the minute. These two are taking the battle to each other, so one for the Hadfields maybe as he tries to take the outside line. We've seen Mark Proctor do this, and it didn't work out for either time that he done it, and it's not going to work out for Hadfield there. You need some serious skill and serious grip to get around that corner on the outside line and maintain or gain a position. So not going to happen there for the Hadfield, Adrian Hadfield, car number 5. But he's going to try and keep the pressure on Scott Kostrick. He's not exactly losing a ton of time to him. He's actually gaining it back straight away. So I think he is a little quicker around this track than Scott. But again, we've got the leaders getting closer. We've got these two getting closer. There's battles going on everywhere on the grid still. And Ryan Dudley in the minute in the Whisk livery there, I believe. Oh, no, sorry, not Whisk, Simtech livery. Chasing down Richard Fluity just in front of him. Richard Fluity, I don't know if that's a new livery for him or not. I remember Richard Fluity being in something else, but I could just be making it all up entirely. We now have 3 or 4 cars that are currently blue cars and lapped vehicles. Obviously, unfortunate instance for all those cars at the start. What is this chaos from James Bostock? James, it's been utter carnage to start with. A lot of cars, I think, really eager just to get the season underway, going side by side, and just getting a bit unfortunate with getting a bit too close. And we have quite a few brave cars at the minute trying to take an outside line around turn 4 that these 3 just went around, and it's not working for anyone yet. I haven't seen anyone perform it perfectionly and actually pulled off the move or gained a position. So yeah, interesting stuff so far. It's certainly been action-packed, and I really just wish I could actually breathe properly to fully enjoy this, but sadly I'm not going to get everything to go my way tonight. But Stuart Briley is possibly going to get everything to go his way as he's trying to make a move on John Johnston. Plain white number 55 car takes the inside line, and the classic livery there of Stuart Briley tried to take the outside line, backs tucks in fact, and actually gets a little bit of a better exit still, even though he took the corner a bit slower, having to slow down and get behind Johnston on that turn there, because he knew the outside line wouldn't work. We've seen it many times not work before. And the battle for these two, talking to inside and outside lines, is John Sylvester going to go for it, or is he just going to sit tight behind Mark Brown? He is going to opt for the sitting tight option, and he's just going to stay put for now. Richard Fluity in the minutes having to defend against Ryan Dudley. Ryan Dudley's trying to push up and gain another position to put him into P4. it's not an easy overtake to make, especially on someone like Richard Flutie, who has got the experience that's needed for this tight defending, and a bit loose there on the exit for Ryan Dudley. It's going to lose him a bit of time to Richard Flutie, but he's still within touching distance of that GR86 just ahead of him. There's not going to be much in it whatsoever. We jump on the gearbox at probably the wrong time, because these guys are always going side by side through some of the slowest corners. Ryan Dudley's going to have the momentum to go around the outside. He's going to hold the outside line, because now he's going to have the inside. He's going to have the advantage. He's got it. He's done it nice and easily around Richard Flutie. He made that move look impeccable. Well done for Ryan Dudley there. Fantastic move on Richard Flutie. Gets the move done very quickly and smoothly, and now we can get the chase on Eric Ronenberg. 1.8 seconds, and it's going up at the minute, so he really needs to get his foot down and close that gap as quick as possible. John Sylvester, though, let's jump on board with John Sylvester. This is what he's seeing on his helmet cam at the moment, or what we will see on his helmet cam, should I say. Legend 43 Racing just in front, the car of Mark Brown, the car number 143, and he's being chased by the 193 of John Sylvester. And at a minute, this is all John Sylvester can see, and I think this is what he's going to see for the majority of this race as well, is the rear end of Mr. Mark Brown. But ideally, he wants to be in front. And Mark Brown almost went a bit too far wide on the exit there of turn 4, and that's going to cost him a little bit of time. Not too much, though, so it's possibly salvageable for Mark Brown, as he still holds the lead, still holds a fairly nice gap as well. We'll just sit on board with Sylvester, see if he makes a move in the next turn or two, because the gap is closing. Just over 2 tenths now between the front 2 cars. And as that gap closes, well, the question rises is John Sylvester going to make a move if he can get close enough behind Mark Brown or not? A bit late on the gear shift there, going upshift from 3rd to 4th. But he's still maintaining the gap, and I think he might be struggling a little bit with the car. Not too sure. It doesn't look like it was a bit understeery around the final turn there, leading onto home straight. I think when I said he was a bit late on the upshift, I think he's just getting the maximum out of the car, because he seems to do it every gear. He's trying to get all the revs out of this car to try and close the gap down to Mark Brown and make his life a bit more easier. Use the momentum of the car to his advantage. So let's jump down the grid a bit more while these two fight it out. Let's have a little look here. So we've got Lee Rylands. I believe this is Lee Rylands is the Newcastle fan, has the Newcastle United badge on the side. Had a very good season last season, so I'm sure Lee Rylands will be happy, and I'm sure he's hoping to have a good season in the Tanso Racing Group following suit of his beloved football team. Dave Clark at the minute is trying to put the pressure on to Daniel Wareham. Daniel Wareham being a strong finisher from last season and had some good pace all throughout. Dave Clark using a very standard livery there, but I actually do quite like it. It's very simple. Now, it's a bit of a possibly an argument coming, but is that gold, or is that a bit of a sort of mustardy, greeny kind of, you know, someone tell me in the chat what colour we think that is, but I'm going to go more towards gold, if it was me. I'm assuming that's what it's meant to be anyway. But let's jump back to Richard Flutie at the minute, because Richard is desperate for that position back from Ryan Dudley, and he's got the pace to do so. He's closing that gap, not by much on the straight, granted, but in the corners he's closing that very quickly, actually. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But we've got John Sylvester also getting close. He's getting within 1/10 in the braking zone of turn 1, and Richard Flutie seems to be doing something similar. Not quite 1/10, but he's still closing the gap by a tenth or two each time. So not a bad run so far from him. As these cars come around turn 4, we're seeing no one take the wide line anymore. I think everyone worked out the hard way that the wide line doesn't work through turn 4, because you'll get an off track there, and you can see in the sand the amount of cars that have gone off. They've created like almost what you would normally see on a dirt bike track. They've created ruts in the sand where you can easily get your tyres caught, so that's not something you want to be doing. Not too sure how much of an effect that would have on iRacing, whether they're taking that into accountability or not, but if they have, fantastic job. And that means that, you know, this could really put a bit of intensity on these guys and where their tyres are. You know, you don't want to put them in the sand if the rut does affect your handling of your car, your speed, your pace. Obviously it will affect those because it's in sand, not on the normal black stuff that you're meant to keep it on. But Yeah, I know the ruts do tend to slow down a bit more than what a normal surface would, and John Sylvester, once again, getting within 1/10. He's going to go for the move up the inside line now of Mark Brown. He's going to have his nose in front for turn 1. He's going to hold the inside line. Mark Brown's going to have to almost let him have the position because he's got so far up alongside him. He's not really going to be able to fight back because they were more than side by side going around turn 1 there. Now leading through to turn 4, Mark Brown, don't take the outside line whatever you do. We've seen many people fail so far, and he sticks nice and tight behind, and well, he's probably going to try and keep the pressure on now and possibly try and catch Sylvester, because we're coming up to the last 7 minutes, so he's probably going to try and catch him in the last lap or two as these guys come around into the slower section of the Summit Point Raceway. And just to show you how close things are, we'll jump to our blimp cam. So obviously these two are only 2/10 apart, so they are very close indeed. But you've got Eric Ronenberg 2 seconds behind, and we can't really see him that well from this angle. We're not going to see him any better from the chopper, unfortunately, but he's not actually that far away. Actually, just saw it on TV cam there, so we can just see, we'll probably see Ronenberg, there you go, he's just in the background, so any mistake from these front two, and Ronenberg's going to pounce on that big time and gain 2 positions potentially. So these guys do not want to form a mistake, and wow, what a battle we have back there as well. Richard Fluity at the minute trying to take the battle to Dudley. Mark Brown taking the battle to John Sylvester. Mark Brown gets the position round to turn 1. What happens between these two side by side? Richard Fluity has to back off into P5 once again, but tries the cutback, tries to get on the inside of Dudley, doesn't manage to do it, doesn't have the pace to get side by side with him. John Sylvester has managed to get on the other side of Mark Brown and take the inside line round turn 4 as they excel straight out of there. And Richard Fluty's just going to have to settle for P5, I think, for this lap as they come around turn 4 as well. Lee Ryland's having a good battle here with Jamie Allen. There's 2 names I don't think, well, I don't recall saying much together, so these two having a nice little battle. I think Jamie Allen is a newcomer to the Tanso Racing Group this season. We haven't got them set up in a class yet, but Jamie Allen is the car number 1. And the car number 1s are in the reds. I believe the reds are the AMs and the blues are the pros. So Jamie Allen will be in the amateur division. Lee Rylands is in the pro division. Nevertheless, they're not letting that get between the two, and they're still going to fight it out, and the pro. And once again, down the straight, Mark Brown's going to go for the inside line. He's got the speed, he's got his nose in front early doors, just like John Sylvester done to him 2 laps ago. And John Sylvester's going to concede the position, but he's probably going to look for the cutback or gain more momentum coming out the corner than what Mark Brown had. And it looks like he may have it. I saw him catching a little bit there. You can see the time going down, 3/10, just below. Just below, still going down. Now it's rising back up again. There's a bit of braking difference between the 2 cars, but John Sylvester carries more speed through turn 4, and you can see that time going down once again, nearly 2.5 now, splitting the 2. But Eric Ronenberg really catching up now, turning this into a battle for the top 3 rather than for the top 2. So he's going to bring this in to be a bit more tense. Darryl Morrison making a move on Mark Proctor, doesn't quite get it. Mark Proctor's going to hold the outside line. We've seen Mark Proctor hold the outside line in some of these corners already. That's not worked out for him, but it's worked out this time. He holds the position against Darryl Morrison, so not a bad run there from those 2. Dan Wareham having to battle it out at the moment with Mr. Adrian Hadfield. Adrian Hadfield's going to have to drop back a position, concede that position, but hopefully he doesn't let it get to him and keeps the pressure on as much as possible. Jumping back up the table now to your top 2 cars as it stands at the moment. Mark Brown in the lead, but John Sylvester's going to make the move, or just try and make himself a nuisance in Mark Brown's mirrors, swerving left to right, doesn't get the move done, but this is bringing Ronenberg back into the battle. The more these 2 battle out in front, the more chance Eric has of getting in front. So this is going to be interesting leading into the last lap or 2. Go around single file through turn 4. Eric Ronenberg almost getting a bit loose on the back end there of the turn 4, and wow, John Sylvester really trying to test the grip of those tyres as he's swinging about all over Mark Brown's mirrors there, trying to just be an absolute nuisance and put Mark Brown off. If you don't flash your lights, next best thing, weave. be a nuisance, you know. Make sure you're in every single mirror, and yeah, you just want to try and put Mark Brown under as much pressure as possible. Now, Mark Brown is a calm, cool, and collective driver, so he's probably not going to let that get to him, as he still holds P1 leading into the final turn now of this lap. And well, John Sylvester carried more momentum through that turn. The time is already down to 1/10. It's still going down. Sylvester has got the better speed. Eric Ronenberg is pulling him closer to Mark Brown as well. Only 4/10 between those guys now. It was 6/10 a couple of laps ago, so there's not much in it at all. And Eric Ronenberg is now 3/10 behind. He is in this battle. He is now involved. The 17 car there, he is now involved. This is a battle for the top 3. It's no longer for the top 2. John Sylvester's going to hold the inside line. Mark Brown's going to spin. Oh, he's touched the sand. Eric Ronenberg's reacted to that, reacted quite well. Gone onto the dirt a bit, but kept his momentum going. He's going to keep the pressure on John Sylvester. Settles for second at this moment in time, though. Can he try and get the inside line? No, he settles just behind. He's going to sit right in the middle, making a Ronenberg sandwich, because he's the filling in between the two pieces of bread at the minute. And as they come around into the slower section, or throughout the slower section, should I say, John Sylvester's going to lead the race as it stands at the moment, coming into the final couple of laps in this race. And we'll jump on board with Mark Brown, see what he can see in his helmet cam at the moment. You know, he's got these 2 cars ahead of him, not much time to go, I'm sure. So with not much to go and quite a lot on the line in terms of position, when's he going to make this move? Is he going to strike now, or is he going to strike in a little while? I want to say he's going to strike now, because Barney was waving the white flag. This is it, the last lap of race 1. And well, this seems to have gone by really quickly. We'll get the track map up for you so you can see exactly where the leaders are. We will stay on board with them for this lap, because this is going to be a tight and tense battle between these guys. You can see the skull mask there of John Sylvester leading the race. Eric Ronenberg, P2 currently, and Mark Brown, P3. Eric Ronenberg trying to put the pressure on as much as possible, being in the middle of this battle. And we'll quickly jump over to our blimp cam once again. You can see they're almost equidistant, but Eric Ronenberg's pushing hard for John Sylvester. And what I believe is Eric Ronenberg's... Did we see him last season? I'm not too sure. I can't remember talking about Eric Ronenberg a lot, but I could be wrong. I wanted to say that this is his first season in Tanso, but judging how he's already got his pro thing there, I'm not too sure on that one. But anyway, it's not something I see often. Eric Ronenberg at the top of the table. You don't think he's going to quite get this win. He's now just got to hold off Mark Brown for that P2. And here we go on to the home straight. John Sylvester is going to be your race winner for race number 1 in the promo event. Who's going to beat each other in the battle for P2? And it's going to be Eric Ronenberg, not by much though. Not by much at all. 600ths of a second behind there. And Ryan Dudley and Richard Flutie going to come across the line. 1.5 tenths between those two. Ryan Dudley in P4, Richard Flutie P5. Scott Kostrick now leading down the straight with the pack behind him. P6 for Scott Kostrick, Daniel Wareham in P7. Martin Lee P8, Adrian Hadfield P9, Jamie Dengle P10. So not a bad overall race for those guys as they all come filtering through now. We'll just have a look at towards the back of the grid. Dave Clark at the moment coming around in P15. Stuart Briley just behind here in P16. I would say just behind. I thought he was the car right behind, but he wasn't. That was Aaron Hobson that was just behind in P20. He was a lapped car. So we'll just wait for these guys to all filter through before we bring you your results. I'm starting to get my breath back and actually able to breathe thanks to my little hay fever attack I had before the broadcast went live in the green room. So yeah, luckily I can now start to breathe again. Barney, you are all good. You don't need to wave that flag anymore, sir. All the cars have now come around. So what we'll do is we'll quickly go and take a look at the results there for race 1. Remember, there is a reverse grid for race 2. So let's have a look and see what happened here. So John Sylvester wins race 1 of the media day. Eric Ronenberg, who doesn't actually have a marking, maybe it's because I was on his name and it showed blue, but he was 3 tenths behind your leader, John Sylvester. in P2 there. So Eric Ronenberg, fantastic result for him, which I believe is his first race in Tanso. I'm going to go with that. If he's in the booth later, we can ask him, but we'll go with it. So P2 in the first race, not too bad at all. Taking the fight to Mark Brown, who finished 4 tenths just behind in P3. That's your top 3 podium sitters there. Ryan Dudley just missing out on the podium, P4. Richard Fluency, P5. Scott Kostrick, P6. Dan Warren, P7. Martin Lee, P8. Adrian Hadfield, P9. Jamie Dengel rounding off your top 10. Mark Proctor, P11. Darryl Morrison, P12. Jamie Allen, P13. P14 is Lee Rylands. Top 15 is rounded off with Dave Clark. Stuart Briley is in P16. Kevin Randall, P17. John Johnston, P18. And then you've got Michael Elms, P19. Aaron Hobson, P20. And Conor McKendrick, who didn't get out on track, unfortunately. I don't think he's in the session any longer. But Conor McKendrick did round off your grid in P21. So overall, not a bad race at all. Normally I would sit here and ask my co-commentator what they thought on race 1 and what could be improved, or what we can look out for going into race 2, because we do have a reverse grid. I believe it'll be the top 15 reverse grid option as well. So with that being said, you know, let's get the in fact, let's get the results back up and just have a look at this. So top 15 reverse grid. You should have Dave Clark leading the way with Lee Rylands and Jamie Allen in your top 3 there. So that'll be a nice little start for those guys, and kind of get them ready and used to what we're going to be seeing in this season. You know, with the reverse grids coming up as well, it's something that you're going to want to be ready for, because it's very different from starting near the back or middle of the pack to then leading the pack out. You know, it's a very different feeling. There's a lot more pressure on you as well. But overall, we had a couple of slip-ups at the start. There was a bit of carnage there at the beginning of the race, but apart from that, we didn't have such a bad session, to be fair, just then. So race 1 is all over and done with for the media day. We have race 2 coming up momentarily. I believe we do just have the 5-minute warm-up at the moment, so we'll just wait for that to go by. Now, in the 5-minute warm-up, some of these drivers will have different strategies, different tactics in what they do. Some just like to relax. I know it's a media day, there's no points, but talking in terms of, you know, when we are in the league and there are points on the board, some of these guys will just sit back, chill, maybe have a little drink, or, you know, just put their feet up, relax a bit more, and others will actually be, as we see a few cars there coming out on track. I think it's Eric Ronenberg doing a bit of burnouts there in the pit. You can see all the smoke coming up from his car, but you see other drivers will actually take full use of this time, and they will go out and test the limits on the track, see what they can get out of the vehicle. But I think Eric Ronenberg is trying to egg on other people to go out there with him at the moment, so we'll let him wait and see if he decides to go out and make a few laps or not. If he does, we'll go out and watch him. But overall, not a bad track, and you know, we had some tight situations in race 1 on, well, the first initial laps. I think it's just the excitement of being back, and these drivers are really just wanting to get amongst it straight away, and probably getting a bit too close for a lot of people's liking. And well, you saw a couple of drivers pay for that. It is what it is. Leading into race 2, though, I'm sure we'll see some more great racing with the reverse grid in mind as well. You know, the pressure is on for those boys that are starting near the top. You're going to have, you know, people like Sylvester, John Brown, Ronenberg. They're all going to be trying to cut through the grid as quick as possible. So you've always got to keep an eye on your mirrors. You know, if you know you're slow, but you're leading the pack, you just got to keep an eye on your mirrors. You know, don't race in your mirrors, but just keep half an eye on them. You don't want to be either impeding other people's races so much that it puts you in danger, or just being a general nuisance, really. You know, we want to try and keep this as enjoyable as possible. It is just media day after all, so no points on the board. There's no championship standards to bring you either. It is a fresh season, season 4. If you want to get yourself involved in the Tanso Racing Group, remember, you can do that. Go check out their Discord, join up and sign up through their Discord and their website there. And well, here we go. This is the grid then. So Dave Clark is P1, Lee Rylands P2, Jamie Allen P3, Daryl Morrison P4, Mark Proctor P5, Jamie Dengle P6, Adrian Hadfield P7, Martin Lee P8, Daniel Warren P9, Scott Kostrick rounding off your top 10, Richard Fluidy P11, Ryan Dudley P12, and as the grid filters through, we've got Mark Brown P13, Eric Runabout P14, John Sylvester P15, Stuart Briley P16, Kevin Randall P17, John Johnston P18, Michael Elms P19, 20th is Aaron Hobson, and 21st is Conor McKendrick. So we will just wait for the lights to appear, and if I've timed that right, we should be, there we go, the lights are up, wait for the reds, and off we go. And we are underway for the race 2. Bad start there for, I believe, that was Jamie Allen. Yeah, terrible start from Jamie Allen. Someone's going off track, trying to drift around Jamie Allen there. That's not going to work, and they're still struggling to get it back on track. They've actually lost more positions than what they're ever going to gain in that situation. But Lee Ryland's here trying to lead the pack, and he's going to concede the position to Daryl Morrison. Daryl Morrison, what a push that was. Overtaking 4 or 5 cars early doors and managing to get himself out in the lead straight away. But Lee Rylands is going to come back, gain that position back, and he's going to have the inside line into turn 4. We've seen this before. Are they going to hold it through there? Mark Proctor's got the inside line this time. Well done, Mark Proctor. He's learnt from race 1. Mark Brown spun around there in the background. Unlucky for Mark Brown. He's going to fall down the grid, unfortunately. Yep, he's fallen down rather quickly. P17 currently for Mark Brown, and those cars behind are catching it very quickly, so he needs to get a move on and try and get back into this race. We've seen comeback drives from him before. There's an extra 5 minutes in this race. There's 25 minutes in total. So there's a lot of time to try and get back up the grid. Mark Proctor has made his way up to P2. Daryl Morrison, you know, he had a good start off the line. Got all the way up to P1. Took it 3 wide into turn 1. Managing to have the inside line for majority of that turn. And as they were coming out into turn 4, he didn't. And he's not going to have it now either. He's got the outside line, but he's got the corner. And Jamie Dengle done a sensible decision there and kind of let off a bit. I don't think he used much of the brakes, but he did let off, and that's going to give Dave Clark the advantage, and Dave Clark makes the move and makes it stick. 1:32 is the quickest time at the moment for Lee Rylands, your P1 sitter, your pole position man. And well, we have Martin Lee at the minute in the battles there, moving up positions. We've got off tracks, we've got people spinning. Here we go, here's the carnage. This is GR86's on ice, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happens when one goes round. They seem to all go round. There's a bit of bumper cars going on, you know, there's some of them clipping each other here and there. It's like ice when that happens, you know. If someone taps you, that's it, the car's gone, there's nothing you're doing. You're just a passenger. Even if it's the lightest love tap in the world, especially if it's under braking or in a turn, in a corner. You know, it's something you never want to see, and especially as a driver, you never want to feel that. But now that gives these top 2 a bit of breathing space, because look at this. Between them and Scott Kostrick, there's 6.5 seconds. Scott Kostrick is kind of holding up the pack, though. Richard Fluity, and all the way down to P8. John Sylvester. They're all stuck behind Scott Kostrick at the minute. They need to get by. 7 seconds now. Time's going up massively. So Mark Proctor and Lee Rylands are kind of running away with it at the moment. I know there's 25 minutes. We're only 3 minutes in. I'm aware of this, but still, that's a lot of time. You know, 7.5 seconds to try and gain back straight away. It's not going to be easy, but Richard Flutie's made the move. He's got by. 1:21 is the quickest time. Looking back here, look at these cars going 3 or 4 wide into these turns. Daniel Wareham going the quickest, 1:20.9. Fantastic time for Daniel Wareham there. Leading into turn 1 now. They're going a couple of rows of 2. As they come around now, Scott Kostrick's got the outside line on Richard Flutie. Flutie's going to hold the inside and maintain the podium position at the moment, but he has got the outside line now coming into turn 4. And look at these cars all side by side. Bit of contact there between, I think that was, let's have a little look here. I think that was Eric Ronenberg, and there's contact there. Dave Clark has gone. I saw that goldish livery of Dave Clark go out wide there. I think there's a bit of contact from one of the other pink cars that time. Wasn't Ronenberg that time. That could have been Dudley, I think. Can't pinpoint exactly, so I'm not going to say for definite who it was, but these things are so fun to race, but they're also so close, especially on a track like this where the track isn't that wide. GR86s are quite small cars, but also they are so deadly when they make contact with each other. Like I said, no matter how strong or weak it is, when contact happens, it's catastrophic, and these two somehow didn't make contact in the final turn there. They were ultra close, and they all come out clean. And well, the battle between these guys, what a fantastic job they're all doing. Majority are staying on the track. You know, I know it's difficult with some of these that have made contact, but these four all equidistant at the moment, and they're probably going to go into 2 battles of 2 as we go down into turn 1 here. Now here they go, heavy on the brakes, trying to get the inside line. Everyone does so. John Sylvester takes a bit of a wider line, and oh, Ryan Dudley. Is that Ryan Dudley? Yeah, Ryan Dudley's gone down all the way down to P11 as it stands. He should be able to get going. No, he's still going down. P13 at the minute for Ryan Dudley. So Ryan Dudley is now out of this battle, unfortunately, and there's a bit of contact there again, I think, between the 2 cars in front of John Sylvester. What a view he will have on this battle of Richard Fluity and Daniel Wareham. The pink bonnet of Daniel Wareham there in the middle, trying to get in front. And wow, there's a big incident there for Scott Kostrick. He's gone on a gymnastics session once again. Scott Kostrick has actually gone to the pit lane. I'm not surprised. He's probably going to need some medical attention after that one, because we've heard the crash, we've heard the crash, and we've seen the flip, and yeah, it doesn't look pretty, so there's definitely going to be some medical attention needed there. Mark Proctor at the minute is still 2 tenths away from the leader. John Sylvester sitting 2 tenths away at the moment from Richard Fluity, and that is the battle we are looking at the moment. 2 white, red and black cars going at it. The more, I'd say, well-known or more familiar livery of John Sylvester that we've seen holds the inside line. Richard Fluity has a fantastic looking livery, to be fair. I do quite like Richard Fluity's tonight. But he's got the outside line. Is he going to go for the cutback, though? He's going to hold the outside all the way through the turn. That's going to dampen his momentum a bit more than what he would have liked, and he's going to concede the position to John Sylvester, who's going to easily hold it through turn 4. There's a good gap between them now, so he's not going to worry too much about any instant comebacks from the driver at the back there of this battle, which is Mr. Richard Fluity himself, who we were on board with. I was just losing the plot. There's 3 tenths between these two as it stands at the moment, but up in the top 2. P1 and 2 at the moment. Mark Proctor is currently behind your leader of Lee Rylands, who's defending to the utmost best of his abilities, really. He's for sure going to be trying to summon his inner Dan Byrne and defend for his life in the Newcastle colours there as he goes down the home straight side by side now. Mark Proctor going to have the inside line. Mark Proctor's going to go a bit later on the brakes, I reckon. Try and get the full car width around by Lee Rylands, which he does so. Aaron Ronenberg goes the quickest lap time overall, 1 minute 20, low 1 minute 20 as well. But Mark Proctor gets the position done, and unfortunately Lee Rylands isn't able to unleash his inner Dan Byrne that quickly and concedes the position. But I don't think he's going to let it rest there. He has got the pace to keep up with Mark Proctor, and he's going to put the pressure straight back on. Aaron Ronenberg is closing the gap down. It's now 5.7 seconds. It was 7.5 a couple of laps ago, so he's closing that time down very, very quickly as we are going to jump to Stuart Brierley, who's having a fantastic battle here at the moment with Jamie Allen leading these two. This is the battle for 7th as it stands. Martin Lee in the background there, closing the gap down to 2.8, going back up to 3.1 seconds, so not probably going into the corners a bit too hot for Martin Lee, I think, because on the exit these guys are really getting away, so he's probably having to brake a bit too much and probably scrubbing the tyres a bit too much in the corners. So not the most ideal situation for him, but one man we do have to go look at is Mr. Mark Brown, flashing his lights there behind John Johnston, the race league owner, should I say, not the race owner, the league owner, and he's I think he's doing this on purpose, trying to get on the nerves of John Johnston, and I think he could get around him easily here, but he's just trying to wind him up a bit. You know, it's always a bit of friendly banter, as they say, in the media day race. There's no points on the line, but John Johnston is going to concede the position, and he's now going to drop down to P11, slowly dropping into the mouth and the grip of Adrian Hadfield. You can see the light blue and green bonnet there in the background as they all lead into turn 4. Mark Brown on his comeback drive once again. Martin Lee just up the road. 8 tenths split the two. So we wish him the best of luck with his comeback drive, and I'm sure he'll be able to get quite a few positions back right there. John Sylvester is closing the gap down on Dan Wareham. And, well, when they come into the final turn, we know John Sylvester does carry a bit more speed through said turn. And, well, this is where he benefits, is up the straight. But doing that to someone like Dan Wareham isn't going to be easy. Went a bit wide there. 2 tyres on the sand. Possibly going to cause a bit of trouble in terms of his grip. Mark Brown's just gained a position on Martin Lee. We'll have a look in a moment and see who's got the most positions gained in this race so far. As John Sylvester still going to have to settle behind Dan Wareham. Dan Wareham's back end sort of almost slid out a bit there unnaturally. So that was a bit strange to see. Now there's not much splitting the two now whatsoever. A couple of attempts is all it is at the moment, leading through turn 4. But we'll quickly see if we can have a look at the games. Let's have a little look. So here we go. Eric Ronenberg is your leading man, up 11 positions. Darryl Morrison down 11 positions. Dave Clark down 13 after an unfortunate early instance there for both those drivers. Darryl Morrison had a fantastic start to this race. Mark Proctor's up 4 positions and currently in the lead of the race. John Sylvester's up 10. Mark Brown's on his comeback drive up 4. Stuart Briley up 8. So there's a lot of when we look at the gains, there's a lot of big gains between all these cars. And if I can actually get the right one up, there we go. So you can see the gap is still tight between a lot of these guys. Adrian Hadfield is having a good little battle down here. He's trying to get the best of John Johnston. And, well, do it in the media day, mate. Get the job done nice and early. And, well, rub it in John Johnston's face a bit leading into the season. As he goes for the move up the inside line, he's going to have the car side by side leaning into turn 1. He's actually going to have the advantage. He's sort of just ahead of John Johnston now, and he's way ahead. He's got his whole car in front, and the Castrol livery is just going to have to back off a bit of Kevin Randall there behind John Johnston as Johnston swings in for the corner. So he defends his position just after he loses position, as I lose my train of thought. So someone called me Captain Slow in the booth. I think that's probably just about right, to be fair, in terms of my brain speed. I am the James May of the commentary team. John Sylvester is certainly not a James May, though, as he's still putting on the pressure on Dan Wareham. The battle at the top, Lee Rylands is losing a bit of time to Mark Proctor. Mark Proctor 6 tenths, 7 tenths ahead now. But at the moment, John Sylvester's trying to get that comeback on Dan Wareham and gain that P4. He could potentially catch up to Eric Ronenberg, but what pace Ronenberg has tonight, he's displayed that beautifully as well. And you can see Richard Flutie desperate to try and get some kind of slipstream or draft from the two cars battling ahead, and it is going to slow them down if they're going to go side by side into turn 1. They are. Sylvester's going to hold the outside line. Wareham's going to hold the inside line. Is Wareham going to have the advantage? He is coming out of the corner, but I think Sylvester once again has carried more momentum. He's very strong at doing that on this track. He's very good at holding more momentum. He's going to have the inside line, but he backs out. Doesn't want to risk it, and I don't blame him. You know, we're coming up to sort of, well, we're just around halfway point, so just gone over that. There's not long left in theory, and well, John Sylvester's probably going to make the move in the next couple of laps is my prediction. My predictions aren't always correct, I have to admit, but that's what we're going to go for. If I was John Sylvester, I'd be trying to make that move in the next couple of laps, that is for sure. As these guys are still batting out for P4 as it stands at the moment. I finally regained the control of one of my nostrils thanks to hay fever, so that's all good. I'm starting to breathe just as John Sylvester's probably holding his breath, trying to put the pressure on Dan Wareham. But Dan Wareham's pace, mind you, is just fantastic as it stands at the moment. You know, he's keeping that gap. He's not having to worry too much. They were side by side at the start of last lap, but apart from that, he's not really had many worries at all for this battle as it stands. Now, Kevin Randall is trying to put some pressure on the league owner himself, Mr. John Johnston. Kevin Randall, you'll see him tucked in just behind the Castrol livery. There he is. He's waving, saying hello to the camera as he pokes his nose out there. Goes to the inside line on John Johnston and pulls that position off nice and easily. Round he goes into turn 1, gains the position, and now gone for the chase on Hadfield, who is only 3 odd tenths ahead, so there's not much splitting the two at all. Adrian Hadfield not really pulling away too much there, but he's leading the race in terms of the Hadfield so far, because the other two aren't here with us tonight, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll see them in the round 1 of the season. Remember, this is for no points. There's nil points on the gains tonight for any of these drivers, so there's nothing to worry about there in terms of points for any of these guys. Let's just go out, have some fun, and maybe do a bit of pre-season testing. I know not a lot of people take it that seriously, but you know, you can go out there and really test the limits of this car if you're not fully aware of it. So this is a prime time for those people that are doing that. 1 minute 21 seems to be the common time for the top 2. Eric Ronneberg putting in a 1 minute 20 there. Again, Daniel Wareham also doing a 1 minute 20. 4 attempts to win. John Sylvester and Dan Wareham still, you know, they're keeping equidistant each lap. And Kevin Randall's going to go down the inside line. He's got the position. Wow, he's miles ahead already of Hadfield there. Hadfield must have got a bad exit out of that corner. He's lost the position, and he's actually lost the position to John Johnston. Go on, Johnston, son. Stick your nose in there. Keep the inside line. Hold it. That's it. He's gone through. John Johnston has gained the position on Adrian Hadfield, and he's gone from being up in front of both of them to behind both. So it can change that quickly in this race with these cars in this league. So fantastic stuff from these 3 drivers as it stands. Adrian Hadfield has had a bit of a nightmare in terms of losing those positions that quickly, but he's also got to now worry about the 2 cars coming up behind, because they are 2 quick guys and they are not going to settle for anyone making mistakes in front of them. They are going to capitalise on those situations and get past as soon as possible. So we've got to make sure Mr. Hadfield's on his A game at all times now. John Sylvester's pushing his car to the limits as it stands at the moment in the Platinum Racing Team livery there, the white, black and red car. 193 chasing down the pink bonnet of the 173. Mr. Daniel Wareham seems to be having a 3 at the end of your numbers, very common for this league. It seems to be all the cars that we jump on board with seem to have a 3 at the end of their number. Kevin Randall at the minute on board with him, going side by side, leading down into turn 1 as it stands at the moment. He is going to gain the position, I believe, and yeah, he is. He's going to get his nose just in front of John Johnston. He's not going to gain the position. He's going to hold it, actually. That was a very defensive line from him, and John Johnston's going to have the cutback. He's got it, because Kevin Randall's gone wide. He's put too many wheels on the sand there. He's gone wide, and he's actually let, I think, all 4 cars through in the end. So he's just lost 4 positions due to that one instant, but he's going to have the inside line on Morrison. Morrison's going to go through, though, because he does have that more momentum. John Johnston now leads this pack towards the rear of the grid, and little 3-way battle we have here, a fatal 3-way as they would call it in WWE, and what a fatal 3-way it is, it's turning in to a fatal 4-way actually. These guys going in almost 2x2 into the slow section there. Adrian Hadfield almost losing the back end, I feel, a bit, sliding out all over the place there, trying to hold off Dan Morrison, and well, what pace Dan Morrison has. Eric Ronneberg looking to set up the inside line on Lee Rylands, and he does so. That Newcastle defence is breaking open. Hopefully we don't see that this season for him. I'm rooting for him to have a good season in the Premier League, so good luck Lee Rylands and his team in the Premier League. But Eric Ronneberg has made light work of that Newcastle defence, and he's got straight by, but Lee Rylands is going to try and put the pressure on. No, he backs out once again into turn 4, so Eric Ronneberg is going to go through. Can Eric Ronneberg in the last 6 or 7 minutes gain the position to Mark Proctor and well, gain the time to him and potentially get his first win of the night? You know, P1 and P2, sorry, P1 and P3. Oh, I can't remember, is it P2 or P3? My memory's terrible, but either way, you know, top 3 finishes in both races for Eric Ronneberg. Fantastic result that would be for him. What I believe is his first night in Tanso. Dave Clark has retired to the pits. There must have been instant there between that fatal 4-way that was going on between those 4 cars. back down the grid. So unfortunately he's back down in the pits in P16 as it stands. But Mark Brown at the moment putting the pressure on with his comeback drive there to Jamie Allen, who's just in front in the car number 1. Mark Brown, car number 143, sorry, Monster Energy livery, the Monster Legends. They come around the final turn. Looked a bit rickety coming through there. You know, they're a bit worried about hitting each other, but they gave each other good respect, and they're actually going to hold it side by side, leading all the way down the straight. A bit of sand has been kicked up in the background in the final turn, but looks like everyone has carried on, and well, Mark Brown's going to hold the inside line. A bit later on the brakes as Jamie Allen, but he's going to hold the momentum around the outside. He's going to keep it. He's going to keep the position. He's got way ahead of Mark Brown. What a good move that was from Jamie Allen to keep the position and fend off Mark Brown. And it's not often I actually get to say, you know, someone's fended off Mark Brown. So Jamie Allen, hats off to you, sir. You've done fantastically already. So look forward to this season. We've got quite a few people that are going to contest the likes of Mark Brown, Dan Wareham, Mark Proctor, Ronenberg. You know, there's a lot of quick names in there this season. So really looking forward to seeing what happens at the top of the table, but also the middle to back of the table as it stands. You know, from what we've seen so far from these cars tonight, it looks really tight as well. So we are in for a really good season, and I tell you what, I have my work cut out for me in this season from what I'm seeing in this race so far. Fantastic work from all these drivers, from everything we've seen so far tonight. I have to admit, I am impressed. Bit unfortunate with the earlier incidents, but it's going to happen, unfortunately. Many races have incidents like that. We come into the last 4 minutes. Barney, I'm sure, is going to be clutching his white flag, because I know how much he likes waving that thing. Eric Ronenberg's going to have the inside line on Mark Proctor. He's going to get the position done. And I was too focused on Barney, and we actually missed the point that Eric Ronenberg took the lead, but he has now got the lead of the race. Stuart Briley has now crashed out and into the pits. Eric Ronenberg going a bit wide there. Mark Proctor trying to get the chase back on, but he's losing time still to Eric Ronenberg, who is currently leading the second race, the 25-minute, and he'll be grateful for that 5 minutes, because if it wasn't for that, he would be settling for P2 in race 2. But thanks to that extra 5 minutes we get now in this second race, he is going to be buzzing, because that's giving him what he needs to get in front of Mark Proctor. Now, can he hold it to the end of the race? That is going to be the question on everyone's lips that are watching this tonight. Remember, if you are joining us live, watching on board, wherever you're watching from in the world, whatever you're watching this on, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, you know, show some love. And if you want to get involved as well, or just go show some love to the drivers, join the Tanso Racing Group Discord, and you can talk to all the drivers and myself in there as well. John Sylvester, he's not going to look to the inside line. Dan Wareham thought he would, so he went to go set out the inside line defence, but it doesn't need to do it, and realise that, and tucks back in. Try and gain as much draft off of the Newcastle car just ahead of Lee Rylands as he possibly could. And you can see how dirty the windscreens are now starting to get in these GR86s. You can see the flames of John Sylvester's helmet there in the mirror. And well, one person is getting quite close. It's Darren Morrison. He's going for the position, and he's got it on John Johnston. These two have been battling out for quite a while, and Johnston's gapped Hadfield, who's there in the background now as well, and Morrison's going to hold the inside line. John Johnston is going to hold the outside line, and I nearly call him John Sylvester there. He's racing a bit like John Sylvester, because he holds the outside line and holds the position. Make sure that this battle doesn't go away easily. So John Johnston's having a fantastic couple of battles in this race too here, and he's going to have the position nice and easily on Darryl Morrison, but he opens the track up again because he wants a bit more side-by-side action, I think, with Mr. Morrison. So fantastic work from these two, giving each other great respect as well as they come into the slower section now. Morrison having to go a bit harder on the brakes when Johnston kind of, I wouldn't say really cut him off, but when he took a wider entrance into the corner and sort of swung in last second. So maybe there was a bit of a cut-off, but still, you know, fair play to Johnston, but there's contact there, and unfortunately both members end up in the wall. Not good. They were having such a good race up until that point. I think I said so many good things about him. I think Johnston he was letting it get to his head a bit, and he's probably got the broadcast on at this moment in time, and he was loving life, and it just all went pear-shaped, unfortunately, at the wrong time. Looks like they've carried on though, I believe. So Johnston and Morrison are still going. Good on them for keeping going. You know, there's not long left either in this race. I think we could actually be on the last lap of the race as it stands at the moment anyway. Let's have a little look now, and well, your leader, Eric Ronenberg, coming out of the slow section now. He's got a couple of blue marked cars ahead. Well, he's got one, sorry, it's just P13. They're coming up into the final turn now. P13 is Michael Elms. He's now coming around the final turn down the home straight, and he'll be coming across the line. Eric Ronenberg going around the final turn now. Let's have a little sit on board with him. Barney's waving his flag. Which flag is it? Looks like pure white to me. That is pure white. So Eric Ronenberg, this is your time to shine, sir. All you have to do is defend one lap. 8/10 is all that splits the top two. Mark Proctor really wants that race win, I'm sure, but I think Eric Ronenberg might have what it takes in the tank to get this race win. I have fought against Eric Ronenberg myself. I've raced against him on a couple of different leagues, a couple of different cars, and he's a tough cookie to break, that man. And well, what a race he's had so far. Fantastic 2 races really, so it's looking like a potentially really promising season for Ronenberg. Hopefully he enjoys the calendar of all the cars, or all the tracks, sorry, that are yet to come in the pure pink livery, which is very common for Ronenberg as well. Pure pink everywhere he goes. Every car he races always seems to be pure pink from what I can remember. 2 temps split John Sylvester and Dan Wareham, who have both moved up P3 and P4. John Sylvester is trying to get on the podium, and as you can see there, he's not quite in that spot to do it yet. He's probably going to try and hold more momentum out in the final turn though, to try and gain the position. We know he's good at doing that, so can he do it on the final turn? Speaking of the final turn, here comes your race winner for race number 2, Eric Ronenberg, as he comes across the line. Barney waving his flag tremendously there as they come across the line. So Eric Ronenberg P1, Mark Proctor P2, Dan Wareham P3, John Sylvester 2 tenths behind P4, Lee Rylands P5, Richard Flutie P6, Mark Brown, comeback drive and a half for him, to be fair. You know, he wasn't on the podium, but P7, not too bad from him whatsoever. Earlier instant, you know, he got spun by, I think, 2 or 3 cars in the end, so not bad whatsoever there for him. You see Dave Clark having a whale of a time going across the line there, making the most of media day is what we like to see. Darryl Morrison having a good drive as well. Unfortunate instant with Johnston, but he comes across in P10. So not actually a bad finish for Morrison after having that earlier instant. Kevin Randall coming across in P11, and we'll just wait for the rest of the drivers to come through, and we'll go through the grid properly for you as soon as all these cars are finished and their positions are finalised. This is the final car we're waiting for, Michael Elms, who is still racing. The cars behind aren't. No, I think they're just keeping up. Yeah, they could just see a car in front of them, so they thought, yeah, we'll keep up. Either that, or Eric Ronenberg hasn't realised that he's won yet, and he's still going around hoping he's holding the position. But here we go. So Michael Elms comes across the line for the final car for the final time tonight in the Tanso Racing Group Race 2. There we go. So all cars are now across the line. The flashing there of Mr. Sylvester in the background. And what a race he was having. You know, unfortunate he couldn't get past Dan Wareham, but I'm sure it was not an easy job to get past him whatsoever. So we may have some people in the booth today, we may not too sure, but we'll bring you your results first of all. If I remember to bring the right ones up. Feature race, here we go. So Eric Ronenberg wins your race 2 of the media day today here at Summit Point Raceway. Mark Proctor P2, Dan Wareham P3, John Sylvester P4, Lee Rylands P5, Richard Flutie P6, Mark Brown P7, Jamie Allen P8, Adrian Hadfield P9, Darryl Morrison P10, Kevin Randall P11, Martin Lee P12, Michael Elms P13, Dave Clark P14, John Johnston P15 after that unfortunate incident, but fantastic racing from Johnston. Some good battles out there today. Stuart Briley P16, Ryan Dudley P17, Scott Kostrick P18, and we'll just wait for the rest of the filter through. There we go. Jamie Dengle P19, Aaron Hobson P20, and Connor McKendrick P21. So all in all, some fantastic racing that we've seen here tonight. Now, I do have one man sitting there for a little talk with me in the booth, so we'll get him in just a second. But, well, we've had some fantastic racing tonight, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this means in terms of the new season as well. I'm sure there'll be lots of interesting situations, but we'll bring the man that is on screen at the minute, finishing P7 in race 2 there, Mr. Mark Brown. Welcome to the booth, sir. How are you doing? Yeah, well, we saw you had a bit of a earlier incident. I think the battles are getting a bit too close. 3 or 4 cars probably either side of you, what I believe I saw was you had someone come into your rear right, I think it was, as you span off. So, yeah, it was a fantastic display. You know, we've seen one of your comeback drives again. Unfortunately, it wasn't a podium comeback drive, but it was still up into P7, which, from what we saw on the booth, was fantastic. You know, we caught a few of your overtakes going around there. Now, one thing there's a couple of things I want to bring up here, and one is turn 4. So as you're coming around the first right-hander, long right-hander, then you're coming into that uphill left. Now, I saw a lot of the time in qualifying, you were getting your outside wheels onto the sand a bit there. How much can you push that line out wide to put maybe a couple wheels on the sand before it's an off track? Were you getting an off track every time?
Pushing me a bit too hard. So yeah, once you're under the grass, you're an off track. Like, so I was struggling there at the start, and then messed about with rear wing a wee bit in the car and the brake settings and pieces, and sort of got it a bit better under control. So yeah. Yeah,
well, all in all, it didn't look like such a bad session for you, but the other question I do want to bring up, you know, this is media day, there's not any points on the board, but there's a lot of quick guys out there tonight. One person I do want to bring up is Eric Ronenberg, having 2 really high up and strong positions and really good pace. Don't know if it's maybe just Summit Point, or maybe it's the car, or maybe it's both, I'm not too sure, but what is this telling you leading into the season? You know, are you eyeing up anyone for any battles, or is it too early to tell?
Oh, it was me and Daniel got Eric in here. So it is. We know Eric from previous racing. He's very fast, so he is. He'll be one to watch, so he will. So he'll be showing us a thing or two. So yeah, as the saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. So I think me and Eric's going to team up maybe for the season. So we'll see. We'll challenge Daniel and Ryan.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that indeed. So what is the target for this season really for you, Mark? Is it going to be a P1, or are you just looking to get a trophy position?
Clean up, I hope, or clean up my racing a wee bit, try and get some better races. Like last season, I made a lot of stupid mistakes and stuff. Like I had pace, but I had a fair share of incidents and stupid mistakes. So hopefully this season going with a more level head and just try and get clean racing every race if possible. It doesn't work out like that the whole time, but I will see what happens. Should be good. So it's good to see it. Like so many people on this evening for the media race, and it's hopefully summing up to be a good season. Like with a good entry list so far. So hopefully it makes for some good streaming and some good content.
Yeah, well, it was fantastic tonight. You know, we had 20 cars on the grid tonight. We should have had 21, but unfortunately Conor McKendrick didn't get out in time for either of the races. So, but yeah, half the people that signed up were there tonight, which is good to see, and I'm sure we'll see more in round 1. But Mark, before we let you go, obviously, as always, is there anyone you wish to shout out or thank here in the booth?
Yourself there for which is summing up to be hopefully a good season. Last year was brilliant stream, brilliant commentating, so I can't see why it'd be any different this year for Tanso and for all the racers this year, for John and all. Yeah, it's hope it's summing up to be something good, hopefully. So yeah, thanks to everyone, all the racers. And, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time in the booth with me, Mark. And yeah, look forward to seeing you in the new season. So wish you the best of luck, and looking forward to seeing you in round 1 in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, same to you. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mark Brown. Sorry if there was any audio issues at the start there. That was on me. There's a bit of a setup issue, but we'll get that resolved for round 1. But overall, from what we've seen tonight, you know, we had some good battles and we had some tight contests. Normally, I'll be sitting here with Mr. Zach Sweeney and he'd be asking me, Callum, sum it up in a sentence. Well, to be honest, I don't think there is a sentence I can actually form using the English language that would describe the racing we've seen tonight. There was a bit of carnage at the start, but then it upped its game, and well, we saw some fantastic battles from everyone on the grid, from the likes of John Sylvester, Mr. Wareham, Eric Ronneberg, Mark Brown, John Johnston, Mr. Morrison. You know, there's so many names. In fact, I could probably name the whole grid tonight because everyone had a good fair share of battles. So it's really, really exciting leading into round 1, which is in a couple of weeks' time. So until then, have a wonderful couple of weeks, ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully you will join us once again on round 1 of the Tanso Racing season. Hopefully we'll see you there, but until then, stay safe, and we'll hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.